How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Let me see if I can turn this volume up. Cool. Let's see. There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you sound great.
Cool. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How's your morning going?
Doing okay. Yeah, just working away.
Yeah, are you working out of the office today?
I work from home.
You do?
Yeah.
That's
always.
it.
Yeah, our team, we have 4 people on our staff, and so we work for the foundation side, and we all work remotely across California.
Oh, okay. So there's not like a central office in, for some reason I'm thinking you guys are in like Sacramento.
We are, yeah, that is technically the central office for the Restaurant Association. So the membership and legal affairs and public affairs and all of that.
Ah, okay. All right, making sense. Well, I mean, it only makes sense if you consider that you guys are basically like the government of restaurants.
Yeah, statewide.
hanging out in the nation's capital.
Yeah, and our office is a walking distance from the Capitol, so it's super convenient for especially our government affairs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lobbying and all that good stuff. It's so interesting. I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day about how we have like so much access to our government and we don't really take advantage of it too often. But if you think about it, it's like fairly accessible to most of us, and we're normally just too busy to care.
Yeah, definitely. And showing up is a big part of it. In the spring, each year, we host a big restaurant day on the Capitol, uh,
Hmm.
where we invite restaurateurs from across the state to come in and actually meet with your representative and talk
Oh
about.
wow.
Yeah. So that happens in the spring every year. And so if you're from Fresno, we match you with your representative from the Fresno area, and you can talk about the impact that your restaurant is having on the community, how many people you've hired, what challenges you're facing as a small business owner, and all of that. So yeah, we
Yeah,
have a couple hundred folks join us for that.
that's awesome, and that's great, and I think that is one of the kind of the key points that I would love to discuss on our conversation today is how the CRA is almost like a buffer, a representative for the restaurants that are within your network. Certainly like there are a ton of issues that affect the food business, and I think restaurant owners are kind of reflective of our country in that they're normally like overworked, overstressed. They've got so much going on, just kind of making ends meet and all that good stuff. They don't really have the time, the knowledge, or the energy to really participate in some of the activities that you guys do on their behalf, right? And it's like some of the opportunities. So definitely, if you have like any like anecdotal stories or anything like that, I think that would be super helpful. But it's my hope that we can just really talk about how even if it's not the California Restaurant Association, right? Just why it's important to be a part of this community, and just like being aware of like the issues that are a part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the CRA on the association side is really the voice of restaurants in the government. So we make sure that when a bill is being proposed, when it's being considered, when a regulation is being proposed to consider, that the lawmaker knows how it will affect restaurants and what the real life impact of that legislation will cause. Because sometimes, you have well-intentioned people who are trying to do great things in government and trying to move everyone forward, and they might have a law that, like, for example, there's a lot of single-use plastic laws and a lot of things around that. And it's great. Nobody, we don't want plastic polluting our environment. We don't want to fill up our landfills. But then there are some things that you have to consider, like um, to-go items and hot storage and safety and sanitation. And then you have to consider the real life impact of what happens in restaurants. And so if you don't operate restaurants, if you don't work in a restaurant, you might not understand what that legislation will do. And there's some bills that are meant to be across all industries, but they have a really unique impact on restaurants. So we're there to tell the legislator, here's how it's going to look if it goes through. So we are representing all restaurants and trying to bring that perspective to the Capitol.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, I really didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I did want to give you a little bit of time so that we could transition and, jump into the conversation. But, that was a great example. And I thank you for providing, that clarity. So just to kind of to rehash, it sounds like the California Restaurant Association is just, you guys just identify industry trends and, what's happening in the space. And as those conversations start, transitioning to more tangible items in terms of like legislation and, some of the conversations that are happening, at the Capitol, you guys are basically there to provide a forum, and then also to help guide the conversation in terms of like, the restaurant industry space, with, some of those laws, some of those policies that end up like developing. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're the voice of restaurants on the Capitol. So anytime something's being considered, we want them to understand the impact it'll have on restaurants and represent our community and our small businesses there in the Capitol. And there are just things that people, unless you've worked in a restaurant or owned a restaurant, you're just not going to know. And it can get pretty technical, or it can be, we think it's obvious, but it's not obvious to legislators. There was even a bill proposed about not being able to use any single-use items, so even sandwich wrappers, for example. And then we had to step in and say, okay, well, how would that work at a Subway, or how would that work?
Right.
Them to think about, okay, and then if we did everything on dishes, what's the impact of having to build bigger kitchen space, and not every kitchen has and then all the water usage on that, and especially in certain communities that have water shortages. So just trying to get people to think about the complexity of the issue and how it will actually look. So we try to take the voice of all of our members and all of our restaurateurs and bring them to lawmakers to say, here's how your idea will affect our business. And restaurants are really unique in the fact that we're one of the only industries that is in every single community and every single district.
Right.
There isn't a lawmaker who's not affected or impacted by the restaurant industry. We are in every single town in California.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, I don't want to jump too much off topic here. I do have a follow-up question that I want to ask you. So, I don't want that to lead us down too many rabbit holes. But then after that, I want to get us back on track and, get a little bit more of your background information, and then also background information on the CRA. But I thought that you said a couple of things that were, really important in terms of, where the restaurant space is at, right? Because you're exactly right. It is, one of the most popular, profitable, revenue generating spaces in our country for sure, right? And restaurants really are everywhere, and not everybody really understands the impact of, policies and all the different issues that, affect the restaurant space, and how that has implications on just about everyone and everywhere, right? So I guess my question is if we had to, talk about what some of those tentpole issues are for the CRA.